There was a man surnamed Zhu, who lived in the north of Sichuan County, and made a living by fishing. Every evening, he would bring wine to the riverside and drink while fishing. Before drinking, he would pour a cup as an offering and pray, saying, "Drowned spirits in the river, please come and have a drink." This became a routine for him. While others often caught very few fish, he would fill his basket with fish every day. One evening, after Zhu had just started drinking alone, a young man approached him and started wandering around him. Zhu invited him to drink, and the young man accepted without hesitation. The two of them began drinking together. However, that night, they couldn't catch a single fish, which left Zhu feeling quite disheartened. The young man stood up and said, "I will go downstream to chase the fish for you." After a while, he returned and said, "A large school of fish is coming." Indeed, they could hear the sound of many fish biting the bait. Zhu cast his net and caught more than 10 large fish that were about a foot long. He was extremely happy and thanked the young man deeply. As the young man was about to leave, Zhu offered him some fish. But the young man declined, saying, "I've enjoyed your good wine several times. How can I accept such a small gesture? If you don't mind, I will come visit you often." Zhu said, "We've only just met tonight. How can you say, several times? Your assistance is a blessing, and I am truly grateful, but how can I repay your kindness?" So he asked the young man for his name. The young man replied, "My surname is Wang. I have no given name. Just call me Wang Liulang when we meet." With that, he bid farewell and left. The next day, Zhu sold the fish and bought more wine. That night, when he arrived at the riverside, Liulang was already there waiting. They drank and enjoyed themselves heartily. After a few cups, Liulang offered to help Zhu catch fish. This routine continued for about half a year. One day, Liulang suddenly said to Zhu, "We've become close like brothers, but we are about to part ways soon." He sounded quite sad. Zhu was surprised and asked why. After thinking for a while, Liulang finally revealed, "Since we are as close as brothers, I don't need to keep it a secret from you. We're about to part ways, and it's best to be honest. In reality, I am a spirit. In my previous life, I drowned after drinking too much and have been dead for several years. The reason you were catching more fish than others was because I secretly helped you drive the fish towards your net as a way to repay the wine you offered me. Tomorrow my time here will come to an end, and someone else will take my place. I am going to be reborn in the mortal world. Tonight is our last meeting, which is why I can't remain calm." Initially, Zhu was frightened by this revelation, but over time, he had grown accustomed to Liulang's presence and was more sad than scared. So, he filled a cup of wine and said, "Liulang, I raise this cup to you. May you drink it without sorrow. Although our parting saddens me, I should congratulate you for being freed from this fate. Don't be sad, you should be joyful." They continued to drink together. Zhu asked Liulang, "Who will replace you?" Liulang replied, "Tomorrow, at noon, you should wait in the shade by the river. A woman with an infant will come to cross the river and drown. She will be the one to take my place." Hearing a village rooster crow, they wiped away their tears and parted ways. The next day, Zhu secretly watched to see what would happen by the river. At noon, a woman holding an infant appeared by the riverside and fell into the water. The baby was left on the shore, crying and kicking. The woman floated up and down in the water several times before finally crawling onto the riverbank, wet and exhausted. After resting for a moment, she picked up the baby and left. When Zhu saw the woman fall into the water, he felt a pang of sympathy and wanted to help her. But he remembered that she was supposed to be Liulang's replacement, and suppressed the urge to intervene. And when he saw that the woman didn't drown, he began to doubt the credibility of Liulang's story. That night, Zhu returned to the usual spot to fish, and Liulang was already there, saying, "We're reunited again tonight. Let's not talk about parting for now." Zhu inquired about what happened during the day, and Liulang explained, originally, that woman was meant to be my replacement. But seeing that she had an infant in her arms, I couldn't bear to endanger to lives for my own sake. So, I decided to pass on this opportunity, but I don't know when another replacement will come. Perhaps our fate is not yet over. Zhu sighed and said, your compassionate heart will surely move the heavens. From that point on, the two of them continued to drink wine and catch fish together. After a few days, Liulang came to bid farewell once again. Zhu assumed that another replacement for Liulang was arriving. However, Liulang explained, no, this time it's not about my replacement. Thanks to my previous good intentions, I've gained favor with the heavenly authorities. And I've been appointed as the deity of Wu Town in Zhaoyuan County. Tomorrow, I'll be going there to assume my duties. If you remember our friendship, don't hesitate to come to Zhaoyuan to visit me, even if the journey is long. Zhu congratulated him, saying, your virtuous actions have earned you divine recognition, and I'm truly delighted. However, the gap between humans and gods is vast. Even if I'm not afraid of the distance, how can I truly meet you? Liulang replied, just go, don't worry. With these words, he departed after a few more admonitions. Upon returning home, Zhu began preparing for his journey to Zhaoyuan. His wife chuckled and said, it's hundreds of miles away. Even if the place exists, you won't be able to hold a conversation with the deity like you would with the clay statue. Despite her skepticism, Zhu was determined to go to Zhaoyuan. He inquired with the locals and found that Wu Town did indeed exist. He located Wu Town and stayed in an inn, asking the innkeeper where the local land deity's shrine was located. The innkeeper was astonished and asked, is your surname Zhu, by any chance? Zhu replied, yes, but how did you know? The innkeeper then asked, are you from Zikuan? Zhu confirmed, yes, but how do you know that? The innkeeper didn't provide an answer and quickly left. After a while, Zhu noticed the innkeeper returning with his family, holding a baby, and people from the village started gathering around. They formed a wall of people around him. Zhu was even more surprised. They told him, for the past few nights, we've dreamed of a divine being, telling us that a man from Zikuan, surnamed Zhu, would come to our village and offer assistance. So, we've been waiting for you here. Zhu was deeply intrigued by this, and went to the land deity's shrine to offer a tribute to Liulang, praying, since we parted, I've remembered you in my dreams. I've traveled far to honor our old promise. Thanks to your dream message to the villagers, I'm very grateful. I apologize for not having valuable gifts, but I have a cup of wine. If you're not too proud, let's share a drink like we used to by the river. After the prayer, he also burned some paper money. Suddenly, a whirlwind rose up from behind the deity's altar, spinning for a long time before dissipating. That night, Zhu dreamt of Liulang visiting him, when dignified and far different from before. Liulang thanked him, saying, I appreciate your journey to visit me, which has brought me both joy and sorrow. But now that I have responsibilities, it's not convenient for us to meet. We are close in distance, but separated by destiny, and I'm deeply saddened. The villagers have prepared some humble gifts as a token of appreciation. It's a way to repay an old friend. When you leave, I will come to see you off. Zhu stayed for a few more days before deciding to return home. The villagers were reluctant to see him go and took turns hosting farewell gatherings for him every morning and evening. Despite their insistence, Zhu bid his farewells. They presented him with many gifts to enrich his journey. Within a day, his luggage was filled with the gifts, and men, women, and children from the village gathered to see him off. Suddenly, a whirlwind started blowing, following Zhu for over 10 miles. Facing the whirlwind, Zhu bowed and said, Liulang, take care. No need to send me off further. Your compassionate heart will surely benefit the people in your realm. You don't need an old friend's advice. The whirlwind spun around for a while before finally departing. The villagers sighed and returned to the village. When Zhu returned home, his living conditions improved slightly, so he stopped fishing. Later, when he met people from Zhaoyuan, he inquired about the land deity's situation, and learned that the outcomes were as miraculous as the legends described, earning him a reputation near and far. The historian known as Yi Shi remarked, Wang Liulang, even though he has become a god in the heavens, hasn't forgotten his humble friends from the past. This is the reason for his extraordinary nature. Today, the dignitaries riding in carriages, would they still recognize the person with the bamboo hat? In my hometown, there's a retired man whose family is extremely poor. He had a childhood friend who has since become a high-ranking official. Thinking that seeking refuge with his old friend would surely lead to assistance, he spared no effort to prepare for the journey, traveling thousands of miles. But he returned home in great disappointment. He had spent all the money in his bag and sold his horse, only to come back empty-handed. His younger relative, who had a sharp wit, composed a poem titled Laws of the Moon, to mock this situation, saying, "This month, my brother has returned. He's taken off his fur cap. The horse and carriage are not even deployed. The horse has become a donkey, and his boots are finally silent." Reading this can bring a smile,